Government spending to the rescue. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to my third episode today. I'm still finishing off my stein of coffee and I thought we would have a look at this article, which is a call for more government spending. Now, the problem with this is it can sound good, it can sound positive, but there always are two sides to the story. And it's important that we look at the whole picture before we get too emotionally invested in what's been put at the news and what the political leaders are telling us. Because you have to understand, the politicians have got an agenda, the ABC and reporters, they also have an agenda, but there's more ways to look at something. Sometimes the politicians don't have the guts to put forward probably the best solution. And that's why I'd like you to, share this channel and some of the videos I make to your friends and family who you think might be interested in getting an alternative perspective or questioning some of the narrative that's constantly being put out there. Because people need to think and we need to talk about this stuff. Because otherwise we're just going to repeat the same rubbish over and over again, vote in the same two sides of the one coin, and, we're just going to be stuck in the same bloody trap. And what I've brought up here is a video I did recently called Stimulus Spending Waste, and it talks about the broken window fallacy. And in this example, this is a piece written in 2009 by Chris Brown from Mises Daily, or one of their articles, the Mises Institute. He relates a story of a school where they actually demolished a fully functional building in our building education revolution and rebuilt it. Because that's good for the economy. But it isn't. It really isn't. It's like repairing after disaster isn't good for the economy because you're not getting any net productivity. So I would recommend you have a look at that one, guys, just to get an alternative perspective on it. Because remember, this stuff all sounds good. It sounds good, and the politicians will never... Well, I just get the feeling that our current leaders don't have the guts to say what needs to be said. They don't. Because that's the problem. When you get in there, their career's on the line. So calls for urgent stimulus led by shovel-ready projects as economy loses momentum quite quickly. So, the economy's been depressed since the GFC. The growth rate has been below trend since the GFC, and now it's just getting worse. So a global consulting firm, EY, is warning the Australian economy is in urgent need of more stimulus and is encouraging the federal government to greenlight more shovel-ready infrastructure projects. Okay, now here's one thing to be aware. These projects, you don't just have projects just sitting there ready to go at the flick of a switch. Particularly, the government is involved in large infrastructure projects that take a lot of time, a lot of consultant input, and you need to be quite meticulous in your approaches to it. Because if you rush, that's when mistakes get made. And it's frustrating. And I've seen it a lot in the construction industry, particularly in the mining sector. When the boom was off, we were churning through work so quick. And I just worked through the night. But you don't want that. You don't want that, particularly for government jobs. And we've seen what's happened in the apartments, in particularly the Triangle of Fale in Sydney, where the issues are rising again and again. That's from an overheated market. So with Australia's economic growth at its lowest level in a decade, economists are urging politicians to move quickly. Oh, see, this is another problem. Move quickly. Because where does the government get the money from? In the end, it's tax revenue. And so that's money taken out of one part of the economy and funneled into another part to try and stimulate it. So it's all, they're not letting the market, they're interfering in the market. The economy is losing momentum quite quickly. The growth base is narrowing and headwinds from offshore are rising, EY chief economist Joe Masters warned. Even if the Reserve Bank cuts official interest rates again tomorrow, she doesn't think it will be enough to stimulate the sluggish economy. I would have to agree. We're getting less return for these rates now because as well, they're a sign of lack of confidence in the economy, and that is just going to filter through to everyone. It's going to filter through to everyone and will have an impact on consumer confidence. So, and while the RBA and federal government agree infrastructure spending will be an important stimulus, Ms. Masters believes it is small, so-called shovel-ready projects that will be most efficient. What is that based on? I mean, see, this is the thing. This is one school of economics where, government spending is introduced to stimulate the economy, which is better than, pulling back all government spending, but also doesn't allow I'd prefer more freedom in the market. Large infrastructure has quite a long lead time, and we're already facing capacity constraints, so we're looking at what else we can do, she said. EY's modeling shows $1 billion worth of maintenance and repair work, like a fresh coat of paint on a hospital, would create more than 5,000 jobs and inject an extra 800 million into the economy. And I think one of the advantages of small scale infrastructure, maintenance and safety type infrastructure is not just that it's relatively easy to roll out, but also importantly, you can roll it out in regional areas, and also it's quite labor intensive. And of course, creating jobs is very important in a slowdown, she told the ABC. So she is literally advocating for the broken window fallacy. She is literally advocating for that. So I'll bring this video up, guys, and have a look at that. Well, I'm gonna probably break that off as a separate video too, just the broken window fallacy, if you're not familiar with it. And I'm gonna write down the time here, so I will timestamp to that video up here. Government to spend billions in 4 years. In a statement to the ABC, Treasurer Josh Frydenberg pointed out that nearly half the government's $100 billion infrastructure package will be spent over the next 4 years. And he also said Prime Minister Scott Morrison had written to state and territory leaders to work together to look at projects which could be delivered ahead of time. Infrastructure Australia advises all levels of government on how and where to invest. And people don't think we're in a centrally planned economy. Comrade. Its Executive Director of Policy and Research, Peter Coglincino, I know I buggered that up, has identified one major hurdle for getting the green light for some projects. New South Wales councils have identified a $2.2 billion local road maintenance backlog. So clearly there's a challenge in New South Wales. That's the problem. That's the problem. You can't just, there's only a certain number of people that can do a lot of these jobs. You need professionals as well to step in. Otherwise, it's going to be a complete and utter disaster, and then we will have more problems to deal with in the future. Just learn from the complete balls up that has been the construction issues. Fire cladding, wire issues, cracking buildings, mold issues. I mean, come on guys, toxic land. These are all things that are happening in our construction industry here in Australia. A lot of them in Sydney. A Transport for New South Wales spokesman told AM the New South Wales government was committing $1 billion to fixing local roads and country bridges over the next 5 years to support councils, and would continue to work with them to review how assets were managed. And with uncertainty over potential economic shock from Brexit and the US-China trade war, Ms. Masters said EY's modelling also showed that bigger tax cuts for low-income earners would give the Australian economy more support. The expansion of the low and middle income tax offset is one example of that, where it's focused on lower and middle income earners who tend to spend more than they save, she said. They have a higher marginal propensity to consume. You can also stimulate through lump sum payments, but also obviously through income tax and changing weekly to fortnightly pay packets. So this really sounds like the broken window fallacy, painting hospitals. So let's jump here to another website. Let's have a look. This is from Infrastructure Australia, and let's look at some of the projects. Let's look at Queensland, 9 projects. We'll jump here. What do we have? What's this one out here? Mount Isa, Townsville Rail Corridor Upgrade and Initiative. Mount Isa, Townsville Rail Corridor Upgrade Initiative. So here we go. Rail corridor upgrade. Priority initiative, transport. So, you can see the full details of it. We can get an understanding of some of the projects. So it's transport, Bruce Highway upgrade, stage 3, transport, Bruce Highway upgrade, Mount Isa upgrade, Bruce Highway upgrade, Port of Gladstone land, sea access upgrade. I'm trying to find a All of these are road building. Road building. Road building. There you go. Another highway upgrade. Another highway upgrade. Pacific Highway A1 Coffs Harbour bypass. I mean, wouldn't you want... Well, don't people in Coffs want the highway traffic to travel through the city because that will create investment? So, I mean, here you go. We've got... Well, it'll create spending. We've got the bypass. So is that going to affect Coffs? But it's spending. It's infrastructure spending. So is it... How does it work? How does it work? Do we look at all these things, or are they only looking at short term? Let's look at Sydney. What do we have in Sydney? And here you go. More road, more road, more road. Freight, freight. So I haven't found anything to do. There's state proposals. Let's look at national. Oh, it's not on the map. We'll jump back. So this is the issue. If this is just going to be a continuation of the broken window fallacy, you know, will it have the impact? Will it actually be productive for the economy, or is it just spinning wheels? Land access between, here we go, another road. Be great to see a nuclear plant, wouldn't it? Somewhere in Australia. Cheaper power, or maybe a new coal plant to offset some of this intermittent generation we have, guys. So this is a great website if you want to just get a look at some of the different projects. We can look at all the national ones. And here you go, National Electrical Market, near-term optimization, National Freight and Supply Chain, optimization, rail, road, high-speed rail, here we go. So future connection, time frame 0 to 5 years. I mean, yeah, that's going to take a long time. Guys, let me know what you think. Are you concerned where this is all heading? Do you think these are the solutions, or is it just going to be more money wasted and inefficient projects just done to stimulate for the stimulation of the economy itself? What about, here's a novel idea, what about they look at reducing costs and reducing size of some of the government burden on the rest of us? Trying to create incentives. Nothing here would be an incentive for a business. Oh, sure, maybe a road would be an incentive to set up a business. We need to look at other alternatives, other suggestions. What about special economic zones? Will we make it easier, or maybe we'll reduce some of the burden on our housing market? There's a lot of legislation there that is just for environmental reasons, and that's for political purposes, where the time frame benefit of it is decades, the payoff on that. You know? So guys, I'm actually looking at starting another show. I want to do a weekly show, and the idea is on Saturdays, you know, Saturday Solutions. We look at a different topic and kind of look at ways to address it. Something a bit more, you know, problem solving. So that's kind of an idea I have at the moment. And, you know, if you want to help me produce this content and, you know, make these videos, and if you're enjoying them, I've got a Patreon and supporter, and I appreciate all your help. Thank you as well for putting up for my adverts. Those of you using the Amazon link, and the people who are donating by PayPal, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It allows me to devote the time to do this, you know, because I still have a real job, and I've got a wife. So there's a lot of commitments there that we put, particularly if you've got a more traditional relationship, and you know, there's an expectation that you've got to provide, which I don't mind. You know, it has a lot of perks, guys. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe. Tell me what you think, and let me know for your suggestions. I'll put this on the community tab as well for episodes or topics to look at for Saturday Solutions, and we'll see where we go from there. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Take care.